Albertson, Gene Tuck, Storm Team meteorologist Bob Becker, and Anthony Pittman with sports.
Looked down at Bill, and he'd been shot in the head. And I laid right next to him. Didn't want to get up because I knew he was still over there, and I didn't want him taking a shot at me.
A teenager describes how he huddled next to his dead brother's body to save his own life. Newton County deputies say the next-door neighbor fired those deadly shots.
As we told you in our exclusive report last night, the boys had been target shooting in a pasture behind their uncle's house.
But their fun ended in tragedy and left relatives wondering why. Chris Bishop has the story.
13-year-old Bill Kotlars worked all summer with his older brother James to earn a little money and have a little fun. The boys had just bought a shotgun to hunt pheasants back in Nebraska. In the pasture behind their uncle's house, they took turns shooting at bottles and cans. Then they heard shouts and cursing behind them.
And then I heard 3 or 4 shots come over from that way. I felt some stuff hit my face. Didn't know what it was. Looked down at Bill, and he'd been shot in the head. And I laid right next to him. Didn't want to get up because I knew he was still over there, and I didn't want him taking a shot at me.
The uncle found James huddled on the ground next to his brother an hour later and called for help. Deputies arrested next-door neighbor Lewis Cooper.
Do you want to make any statement to us at this time?
No, I got nothing to say.
A former co-worker describes the 56-year-old Cooper as quiet, but the uncle says Cooper described himself as legally a psychotic schizophrenic.
I do know that he was going to MHMR in Jasper for treatment. I do not know anything about the circumstance of the case.
Deputies seized a .30-06 rifle, considered deadly at the 150-yard range between Cooper's home and the boys. Ironically, the boys' parents were due to come down from Nebraska tomorrow anyway to pick up their sons after a summer separation. Now, their joyful reunion is turned into a tragic goodbye. In Trout Creek, Chris Bishop, KBMT 12 News.
On with Larry Beaulieu, Cecile Burant, Chief Meteorologist Greg Bostwick, and Greg Kerr with sports.
We had our up and down sometime, but when we get along, we got along good.
A 14-year-old boy remembers the relationship he had with his younger brother, who authorities say is a victim of murder. Good evening. Investigators have set a $100,000 bond for a man accused in the shooting death of a 13-year-old boy.
The Newton County Sheriff says he's surprised any adult would take what he calls such a senseless approach to solving a problem. Colleen Burton has been investigating the murder in Newton County. She's back now with details. Colleen?
Cecile, Newton County is a relatively quiet area. That's why people who live there are surprised such a violent act could happen in their backyard. 13-year-old William Kotlertz of Nebraska came to Newton County to visit relatives and have fun. Instead, he lost his life. Last night, the youngster and his older brother were in a field behind their uncle's home. The boys were practicing target shooting with their new shotgun. Authorities say the shooting apparently annoyed a neighbor. The sheriff says that neighbor grabbed a deer rifle.
He went out into the backyard, did some hollering and screaming at the kids, and then the brother that is still alive heard shots. The next thing he knew, the brother was on the ground dead.
I just think he should have came over and real nicely told us to stop. I would have been more than happy to come back in the house and not go back out there. Didn't want to bother him.
Authorities arrested Lewis Cooper yesterday evening. Today, the teen's parents arrived in Newton County from Nebraska. Relatives walked through the area of the shooting with the victim's brother, showing them where everything happened. Cecile?
Thanks, Colleen. And we understand at news time that the 56-year-old man remained in the Newton County jail on a $100,000 bond charged with murder. Larry?
Thing to say about what happened last night. That's when Lewis Cooper allegedly opened fire on 2 brothers who were target shooting near his home. Tonight, the 56-year-old Trout Creek man is in the Newton County jail on a murder charge. Deputies say Cooper's not talking. Authorities claim Cooper got irritated last night with 13-year-old William Kotlartz and his older brother Jim. The teens were trying out a new shotgun in this field near their uncle's house. Cooper says he fired 4 shots to scare the boys. One hit William Kotlarts in the head, instantly killing him. Kotlarts' older brother hit the ground in shock and didn't move for an hour.
He went out into the backyard, did some hollering and screaming at the kids, and then the brother that is still alive heard shots. The next thing he knew, the brother was on the ground dead.
I just think he should have came over and real nicely told us to stop. I would have been more than happy to come back in the house and not go back out there. Didn't want to bother him.
Jim's parents drove in today from Nebraska. He walked through the field showing his family where his brother died. The suspect is being held tonight on a $100,000 bond. In tonight's Texas...
More than 300 relatives and friends gathered in Utah, Nebraska for the funeral of 14-year-old William Kotlarts. Kotlarts and his brother were visiting their uncle in Newton County over the summer vacation. They'd just gotten a new shotgun and were out shooting at targets when their uncle's neighbor started shooting back at them. William Kotlarts suffered a fatal head wound. His brother, fortunately, wasn't injured. The neighbor, 56-year-old Lewis Cooper, is in the Newton County Jail charged with murder.